There's a moment in every job interview that separates the amateurs from the masters. Most candidates walk in desperate to fill every silence with words, achievements, explanations. They talk about their skills, their experience, their passion for the role. They answer every question with paragraphs when sentences would do. Then there's the other type, the one who walks in, sits down, and waits. When asked a question, they pause. 3 seconds, 5 seconds. The interviewer shifts uncomfortably, the silence stretches, and then finally they speak. Short, precise, powerful. Guess who gets the job? It's never the one who talked the most. It's the one who made every word count. Most people think communication is about talking, but the truly powerful understand that communication is about control, and the person who controls silence controls everything. When you speak constantly, you reveal your insecurities. You show your need for validation. You expose your desperation to be understood. Machiavelli understood this 5 centuries ago. In the dangerous courts of Renaissance Italy, the advisors who whispered held more power than those who shouted. The rulers who remained mysterious inspired more fear and loyalty than those who constantly explained themselves. Today, you're learning why your words are costing you power, why every explanation you give away weakens your position, and how silence used strategically can make you the most dangerous person in any room. But before we dive deep, I want you to understand something crucial. Silence isn't just the absence of sound, it's the presence of power, and once you master it, no one can control you again. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose power over words. Let's begin. Number 1. Talking reveals weakness. Every word you speak is a window into your mind. And when people can see inside your mind, they can predict you. When they can predict you, they can control you. That's why the person who talks the most has the least power. Think about the people who never stop talking. They explain their decisions. They justify their choices. They defend their opinions. They fill every silence with nervous chatter. What are they really doing? Broadcasting their insecurities to everyone within earshot. When you over-explain, you're admitting that you need approval. When you constantly justify yourself, you're saying your decisions aren't strong enough to stand alone. When you fill every silence, you're showing that quiet makes you uncomfortable, and discomfort is weakness. Machiavelli once said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." The moment you start explaining yourself, you remove the mystery. You make yourself predictable. You hand people the instruction manual for manipulating you. Watch how this plays out. Someone asks why you made a decision. The weak person launches into a detailed explanation. They're not being helpful. They're being defensive. They're seeking validation. The strong person simply says, "Because it was the right choice," then stops talking. That silence forces the other person to either accept your authority or reveal their own insecurity. Here's what most people don't understand. When you explain too much, you're actually creating doubt. You're making people question whether you really believe what you're saying. Silence communicates certainty. It says, "I know what I'm doing and I don't need your approval." That certainty is magnetic. People respect it. They follow it. The next time someone questions your decision, try this. Pause. Look at them calmly. Say nothing. Just wait. Watch how uncomfortable they become. Watch how they start filling the silence themselves. Every unnecessary word you speak is power you're giving away. Every explanation is an apology. Every justification is an admission of doubt. The person who masters silence doesn't need to prove anything. Their quiet confidence proves everything. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence speaks louder than words. Number 2, silence creates authority. Authority isn't given, it's taken. And the easiest way to take it is through strategic silence. When you speak less, people listen more. When you listen more, people reveal themselves. When people reveal themselves, you gain control. Think about the most authoritative people you've encountered. Teachers who commanded respect without yelling, bosses who led without micromanaging. Parents who disciplined with a look instead of a lecture. They understood that silence carries more weight than noise. A single word from someone who rarely speaks is worth more than a speech from someone who never shuts up. That's simple economics. Scarcity creates value. When your words are scarce, each one becomes precious. Machiavelli once said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. The fool speaks first and thinks later. The wise man thinks deeply and speaks rarely." Here's the psychology. When someone talks constantly, we tune them out. Their voice becomes background noise. But when someone speaks rarely, we pay attention. We lean in. We assume that if they're choosing to speak, it must be important. In meetings, the person who talks the most is rarely the person with the most influence. The person who speaks last, who waits until everyone else has exhausted themselves, then offers a single decisive statement, that person wins. Silence also protects you from saying something stupid. The more you talk, the higher the chance you'll contradict yourself or reveal something you shouldn't. The less you talk, the fewer mistakes you make. Think of silence as armor. Every word you don't speak is a vulnerability you don't expose. Every explanation you withhold is information your enemies can't use against you. The world is full of people desperate to be heard, but the truly powerful don't need to be heard. They need to be respected. And respect comes from making your words rare, your silence heavy, and your presence undeniable. Now I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I command respect through silence. Number 3, observation beats conversation. While everyone else is talking, the silent person is learning. While everyone else is performing, the silent person is observing. While everyone else is revealing themselves, the silent person is gathering intelligence. Every conversation is a battlefield of information. The person who talks more gives away more. The person who listens more learns more. And in the long game, information is power. Machiavelli understood this completely. But before you can evaluate others, you must first observe them. And you can't observe while your mouth is moving. Think about professional poker players. They don't win by having the best cards. They win by reading their opponents, by watching tells, micro-expressions, patterns of behavior. They stay quiet and let others reveal everything. Life works the same way. When you're silent, you notice things. You see who dominates conversations and who defers. You observe who agrees too quickly and who asks thoughtful questions. You spot the liars, the manipulators, the genuine ones. Here's a practical exercise. Next time you're in a group conversation, don't speak for the first 10 minutes. Just watch. Notice who interrupts whom. Notice who makes eye contact and who avoids it. You'll learn more in those 10 silent minutes than in an hour of talking. Observation helps you identify power dynamics. In any room, there's a hierarchy. Most people can't see it because they're too busy trying to climb it. But the silent observer sees everything. Who defers to whom? Who waits for permission to speak? When you understand these dynamics, you can position yourself strategically. You know who to align with, who to avoid, who has real power and who just has a title. Silence also reveals what others are thinking. When you stop filling every gap, other people start filling them instead. And in those moments, they reveal their true thoughts, their hidden agendas, their real concerns. Machiavelli once said, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. Most people see only what's obvious, but the observer sees what's hidden, the patterns, the motivations, the truth beneath the performance." Drop this affirmation in the comments. I observe more than I speak. Number 4, silence makes you unpredictable. Predictability is death. When people know how you'll react, they can manipulate you. They can push your buttons. They can control your behavior. But when you master silence, you become impossible to read. People are uncomfortable with what they can't predict. It makes them nervous. It puts them on edge. And when they're on edge, they make mistakes. Think about people who always react the same way. The person who always gets angry when challenged. The person who always apologizes when criticized. These people are easy to control. You know exactly which buttons to push. Now think about someone who doesn't follow predictable patterns, someone who sometimes engages and sometimes ignores, someone who responds to provocation with calm silence. That person is dangerous. You never know what they're thinking or what they'll do next. Machiavelli once said, "Since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved." Fear comes from uncertainty. When people can't predict you, they fear testing your boundaries. Silence is the ultimate unpredictability. When you don't react, people don't know if you're unbothered, planning something, or simply don't care. That uncertainty creates a psychological advantage. Here's how this works. Someone insults you. The predictable response is to insult them back. But what if you just look at them calmly, say nothing, and walk away? Now they don't know if you're above it, plotting revenge, or pitying them. That uncertainty eats at them more than any comeback would. The same principle applies in negotiations. The predictable negotiator shows excitement or disappointment. The unpredictable negotiator maintains the same neutral expression. Now the other side has no idea what you really want. The silent person is the ultimate wild card. They're engaged, but not reactive. They're present, but not performing. They're aware, but not revealing. And that combination makes them the most powerful person in any room. Now I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence keeps me powerful. Number 5. Words create commitments. Silence preserves options. Every word you speak locks you into a position. Every opinion you share becomes something you have to defend. Every plan you announce becomes something you're expected to execute. But silence keeps your options open. Machiavelli once said, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." He understood that circumstances change. The person who has spoken too much is trapped by their own words. But the person who has remained silent preserves their options. They're free to respond to new information, free to change course when conditions shift, free to act without being constrained by past statements. Here's a practical example. Someone asks what you think about a controversial topic. The talker launches into a detailed opinion. They've now committed to that position. If new information emerges, they have to either admit error or defend an indefensible position. The silent person simply says, "I'm still evaluating." They've committed to nothing. They remain free to adapt. This is especially crucial in leadership. Leaders who talk too much create unnecessary obstacles because plans change. What seemed like a good idea yesterday might be terrible today. The leader who shares only what needs to be shared maintains flexibility to adjust without looking weak. Their silence isn't secrecy, it's strategic reserve. Silence protects your future self from commitments your present self might regret. Every word unspoken is a door still open. Every explanation withheld is an option still available. The most powerful people have been masters of strategic ambiguity. They inspire without limiting. They lead without overcommitting. They create direction without destroying flexibility. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I preserve my power through silence. Number 6. Silence forces others to fill the void. Human beings are deeply uncomfortable with silence. It creates psychological pressure that most people can't resist. They have to fill it. And when they fill it, they reveal themselves. Professional interrogators know this technique well. They ask a question, then go completely silent. The suspect feels the pressure. It feels accusatory, unbearable. So they start talking. And once they start, they can't stop. Machiavelli observed this in Renaissance Italy. Men are so simple that he who deceives will always find someone who will let himself be deceived. The simplest deception is to stop talking and let others deceive themselves. This works everywhere. Someone makes a statement. Instead of immediately responding, you simply look at them and wait. 5 seconds, 10 seconds. They become uncomfortable. So they elaborate. They explain. They reveal their thinking. In negotiations, this is devastatingly effective. Someone makes you an offer. Instead of responding, you just sit there, silent. The pressure builds. They start to doubt. They begin to speak again. And often, they negotiate against themselves without you saying a word. In conflicts, silence is equally powerful. Someone attacks you. The predictable response is to defend yourself. But what if you just let the silence hang there? Now they're forced to sit with what they said. Often they realize how petty they sound and start backtracking. This works because humans are social creatures. When communication stops, we panic slightly, so we rush to repair it by talking. And in that rush, we give away our power. The person comfortable with silence has a massive advantage. They don't feel that social pressure. They can sit in the awkwardness without needing to fix it. Next time someone says something that demands a response, try this. Don't respond immediately. Count to 5. Just look at them calmly. Watch how they shift uncomfortably. Watch how much they reveal. Now I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence reveals truth. Number 7. Strategic silence builds mystique. Mystery is magnetic. People are drawn to what they don't fully understand. The person who reveals everything becomes boring. The person who reveals selectively becomes fascinating. Think about the most intriguing people you know. They're not posting every thought. They're not talking about themselves constantly. They share just enough to spark curiosity, but not enough to satisfy it. Machiavelli once said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." The gap between appearance and reality, that's where mystique lives, and silence creates that gap. When you talk constantly, you remove all mystery. People know your opinions, they know your plans. You become an open book, easy to read, easy to predict, easy to dismiss. But when you speak rarely, people start to wonder, what are you thinking? What do you know that you're not saying? That curiosity creates a magnetic pull. Here's what happens when you master strategic silence. People pay more attention to the few things you do say. Your rare words carry weight. Your presence becomes more impactful. Your relationships become more interesting. The key is selectivity. You don't share everything with everyone. You reveal yourself in layers. You let people earn your openness. When you do share something personal, it means more because it's rare. This doesn't mean being cold, it means being intentional. You can be warm while maintaining mystery. You can connect while keeping some things private. Think of yourself as a book people want to keep reading. If you give them the whole story in the first chapter, they have no reason to continue. But if you reveal slowly, they can't put you down. Mystique also protects you. When people don't know everything about you, they can't use that information against you. Your privacy becomes your shield. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My mystery is my power. Number 8. Mastering silence creates psychological dominance. This is where everything comes together. When you master silence, you're wielding a weapon most people don't even know exists. You're playing a game others don't realize they're losing. Psychological dominance isn't about aggression, it's about control. Control of the conversation, control of the dynamic, control of the outcomes. And silence is the most powerful tool for achieving that control. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." But he understood that the best fear comes not from threats, but from uncertainty. And the most profound uncertainty comes from silence. When you combine all these principles, talking reveals weakness, silence creates authority, observation beats conversation, unpredictability provides advantage, preserving options maintains freedom, forcing others to fill the void reveals truth, and building mystique creates fascination. You create comprehensive psychological dominance. Here's what this looks like. You enter any situation, and instead of dominating through speech, you dominate through presence and strategic silence. You speak less than everyone else, but when you speak, everyone listens. You ask more questions than you answer. You observe more than you perform. You react to nothing predictably. The result? You see clearly while others are blinded by noise. You remain flexible while others are trapped by commitments. You command respect through restraint, not exhibition. This means you're never at the mercy of emotional manipulation. When someone tries to provoke you, your silence neutralizes their attack. When someone tries to guilt you, your lack of defensive explanation renders it ineffective. You become the eye of the storm, calm, centered, unmoved. People see you as a source of stability. They seek your approval because you don't seek theirs. This is the ultimate freedom. Freedom from the need to explain yourself. Freedom from the compulsion to fill every silence. Freedom from the anxiety of wondering what others think. But this freedom requires discipline. It requires overcoming years of conditioning. It requires resisting social pressure to constantly communicate. The person who masters silence doesn't need validation from others. They don't need approval. They're connected to something deeper, their own inner authority. This is what Machiavelli understood. Real power doesn't come from what you say. It comes from who you are when you're not saying anything. Now I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I am the master of my silence. You've just learned the 8 principles of strategic silence. But knowledge without action is worthless. Understanding these principles won't change your life. Applying them will. Starting today, practice strategic silence. Start small. The next time someone asks you a question, pause before answering. Count to 3. Feel the discomfort and let it exist. Then speak only what needs to be spoken. The next time you're in a group conversation, be the last person to speak instead of the first. Observe the dynamics, watch the patterns. The next time someone tries to provoke you, practice the calm, silent response. Don't defend, don't attack, don't explain. Just look at them calmly and let the silence do the work. You'll be amazed at what happens. People will start treating you differently. They'll listen more carefully, they'll respect your boundaries, they'll stop taking you for granted. Not because you demanded it, but because your silence commanded it. The world is full of people desperate to be heard. Everyone is shouting, performing, demanding attention. In that chaos, the person who remains calm and strategically silent becomes the most powerful force in any room. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. The prince who guards his counsel survives. The advisor who speaks rarely rises. The leader who masters strategic silence commands loyalty that words could never create. You now have a weapon most people will never understand. Use it wisely, use it ethically, use it to protect yourself, to advance your goals, to command respect. But never use it to harm innocent people. True power comes with responsibility. Use your silence to create better outcomes, to lead more effectively, to connect more deeply, to observe truth others miss. If this video opened your eyes to the power you've been giving away, hit that like button. If you know someone who needs this lesson, share this video. And if you want more truth about psychology and power, subscribe to this channel. Your journey from giving power away through constant speaking to commanding respect through strategic silence starts now. The only question is, how long will you wait before you claim that power? Now, I want you to drop this final affirmation in the comments. Silence is my deadliest weapon. Remember, in a world drowning in noise, the person who masters silence holds all the cards. Be that person. Command the respect you deserve, and watch how everything changes when you understand that the most powerful words are the ones you never speak.